We had a blank canvas during COVID. We lost a lot of staff. We were kind of right back to like a skeleton staff because we weren't allowed to open food and beverage. We always had a very strong food and beverage component to the hotel. People weren't traveling. No one was staying in the hotel. We just had to kind of keep the grand name operating and not falling apart. And so we made the decision, and that was the vision that I had brought in, saying this is our opportunity to do what we were going to give the new buyers an opportunity to do, was to reposition the hotel. And why don't we have the template? Why don't we just do it while there's no displacement revenue? And so in those 3 years where we were in and out of COVID and had all of the restrictions, we expanded our food and beverage operation, did a lot of renovations in the hotel, and then repositioned it so that on the other side of COVID, we didn't just reopen our doors, we reopened a new product.
Hey, I'm Bryan Wish, and welcome back to the One Away Show. Today's guest is Ida Albo, an entrepreneur, hotelier, and creative force whose career has been built one bold step at a time. Ida shares the moment she left a stable government job and opened a restaurant, launching a journey that would eventually lead her to become the managing partner of Winnipeg's iconic Fort Garry Hotel. What began as a passion for food became a full-scale operation of one of Canada's natural historic landmarks. In this episode, we talk about trusting your instincts, staying upright through personal and professional storms, and why leading with care for your team, your community, and your craft can be the most powerful strategy of all. Let's get into it. Hi, Ida. Welcome to the One Away Show.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me on a Monday afternoon. So Ida, what is your one away moment that you want to share with us today?
There's several of them. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you always have more than one. I guess maybe to start this part of the discussion, it would have been when I just decided to quit my government job and open up a restaurant.
Wow. Okay. So let's go to that day you quit. I'm just curious, what led you to working in the government in the first place? Why that path?
I went to school. I studied economics. I studied mathematics. I got a master's in economics. I got a job in Ottawa working for Department of Finance. And most people that do that stay there.
What was not working for you? Kind of what made you say, hey, there's more to life?
You know what? I think it was working for me. And trust me, there were a lot of times in the last 40 plus years where I just thought it might have been a bit more boring, but it could have been just interesting in a different way. I just found that after work, I still had a lot of time on my hands. I didn't feel like, I was done working and I didn't want to go back to school. So I just opened a little restaurant on the side. And so it was just, I guess I was a bit bored, but it's not like I didn't like what I was doing. I enjoyed what I was doing. I just needed to do a bit more.
So I don't want to prescribe, but it sounds like there was something that was something inside of you maybe that wasn't fully fulfilled, or you felt like there was more for you to get put into the world.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't work 40 hours a week. I still work 50, 60 hours a week. So I just, and I enjoy it. So there was just like another shift in the day. Yeah. And I needed to do something with it. And I guess I could have done something else. But when you work for the government, your shift ends. No one expects you to do any more than you have to do.
But that just wasn't enough for you. So a restaurant, out of all things.
I know.
Well, it's super hard.
My parents were very disappointed.
Okay, well, there's something to kind of lean on. What did your parents expect of you?
Well, I'm first generation Italian. My parents were, I'm going to say it in the kindest way possible. They were illiterate in both English and Italian. They didn't read and write either language. They spoke a dialect from the small towns that they came from. They immigrated here after the Second World War to Winnipeg, Canada. And what was important for them is that their kids went to university, even though they didn't even know what it meant. They just knew that they wanted their kids to go to university. I'm the oldest of 4. So I kind of set the path, and they were really proud of me. I went to university. I got scholarships to study in graduate school. And then I started working getting what they coveted for me was a government job. And then after 2 years, I let them know that I was leaving the job to operate a business that wasn't making any money. So yeah, it was like a little disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, but you had your sights on bigger dreams. Maybe you didn't know where they would lead you, but
I don't know if it was big or just different.
Different.
Just different. And I mean, I can't blame them for it, but we grew up in a grocery store. My parents lived and worked where we grew up that way.
Wow.
My dad was the butcher. My mom was the cashier, was a small little Italian grocery store. We would come down anytime we wanted to and get chips and a drink and chocolate bars and mortadella sandwiches. So we kind of grew up, where there wasn't a line between working and playing and family.
I see. It sounds like what your parents did have was a lot of a hard work ethic that was demonstrated.
A lot. I mean, it's a story of a lot of first-generation kids and a lot of immigrants that came. They needed the work ethic because they might not have had the education, or in my parents' case, they didn't have the education nor the language.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like you were able to see a lot and have a formative upbringing for sure. So you decided a restaurant. What influence
started with that? Yeah.
Tell me about the restaurant you started and the kind of food and all the details.
Well, I didn't really know much how to cook, but it was mostly cooking out of cookbooks, and then changing the recipe changing the menu on a regular basis. And I guess I learned how to cook in the business. And I have an eclectic palate. So yeah. And so when we first opened, it was really more of a love passion. And one of the things is that we always had a really, really good reputation for the food that we did. And then I guess another one of those like pivot moments is we were close to we were downtown. We were in it's called the Forks Market. So it was kind of like Granville Market in Vancouver or Pike Market in Seattle. So it's one of those kind of organic, not like a traditional mall or a traditional setup, but a tourist site. And it was it was in downtown, close to a heritage hotel. The general manager of the hotel appreciated good food, and he would come almost every day for dinner, and realized that we had undersized the kitchen for how busy we were, and offered us to use the kitchen in the hotel in order to, and then he would eat there for free. So we said that was a great opportunity. And we ended up in the kitchen of the Fort Garry Hotel. And then within about 6 months, and that's complete serendipity. And again, maybe not knowing what you don't know, we got an opportunity we were almost gifted the Fort Garry Hotel. Like it was that we had such a long story to go back, but the hotel had been in numerous foreclosures and bankruptcies. We had a group, they're still our partners today, that had gotten title to the hotel on paper. They were from Quebec. They didn't speak much English. They didn't know what to do with the hotel. We had the first casino in Canada operating out of the 7th floor. We were using the kitchen. We thought they had come to see us to ask us to leave, but the casino knew of our reputation with food and said, if you keep if you make a restaurant for them, we'll renew our lease and stay. And so they offered to make a restaurant for us in the hotel, and we helped renegotiate the lease. And through that process, I guess they realized that we had a little bit of education and were kind of had the feet on the ground in Winnipeg, and just offered us a partnership interest in the hotel. So we said, sure, we'll do that. So we just kind of changed course and started running the Fort Garry Hotel. I would say it was a modern version of Fawlty Towers. So it was not, it was a different road. When we took over in December 1993, the hydro bill, the electricity bill for the hotel, was more than the room revenue at the hotel. It wasn't that it was going to be an easy road. There was a lot of deferred maintenance. The only areas of the hotel that had been renovated was the 7th floor, where where the casino was housed, and we used our reputation in the food and beverage department to convince people to start having their social events at the hotel. We turned it into a very large bed and breakfast, and started generating revenue and started generating a profit, and basically reinvesting. And so one of the nice things about Winnipeg, where I've grew up and born and raised, is that the community is it's kind of like it's large enough to support a good venture, but it's also small enough that you can get community support and partnerships. And especially when someone sees something a little bit more creative happening. And so we were very lucky that people were readily supporting all of our kind of quirky ideas that we were introducing. And it was really, for the most part, with that little revenue, a blank slate. I think we inherited 8 employees. 7 of the 8 still work here.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's a 240 room hotel with now we have over 40,000 square feet of function space. So it's not, and it works 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And it operated with a skeleton staff of around 12 people. So it just kind of gives you the kind of the idea of how low it had got. And so that was another kind of pivoting moment when we said yes. And again, more out of naivety than thinking that it was a grand opportunity.
So just to get this straight, you were cooking out of a small restaurant, you had a small kitchen, you had an incredible reputation for food. The owner of the hotel walked in one day, he'd been coming in, and he said, "Why don't you move into the hotel?" And then over time, you were offered a partnership interest, but you realized, or soon, either sooner or after you kind of did the deal, that the hotel was so run down and was going to require so.
We knew it was run down. Oh no, we knew.
But I mean,
we had been in here for a few months.
But you saw an opportunity, perhaps, to fully turn it around and clean it all up. Is that
to try? You know what? I think it was more. It's a National Historic Site, and I think it was the opportunity to make a mark on this grand castle. And so we were very lucky that we were able to make it work.
Just for size and context, I think I saw this on your site and LinkedIn, but you mind sharing how many rooms it is? It looked like it was a couple hundred. Did I see that correctly?
I think we've converted several to suites. So we have about 232 rooms today.
Yeah. Wow. And I'd just love to know, right? You knew it was super run down. How much, from when you took it over to now, has it all been like fully renovated? What?
Yeah, for the most part. You have to always go back. It's been, I guess my tenure will be 32 years.
Wow.
So it's a long time. And so you even have to go back to things that you'd done before, which is one of the things that we're doing now, we're redoing our first floor and we're converting it into an executive secure floor. So kind of upgrading the current standard of the rooms into like a much higher level than we're at right now.
It's interesting as you were talking, right? When I met you, you were in the hotel, I think in the exercise room, but you're living your life and working out of the hotel, it sounds like. Is that?
Well, I live here.
You live here, right? Yeah. And you were talking about growing up, and there were a lot of blurred lines between kind of live and work. And so, I
know, it's full circle.
Full circle. You repeating the cycle in a good way, as we say. What has been, Ida? I mean, it sounds like a lot of your life to a degree is his, half or whatever it is he's been in bringing this historic site back and making a mark on Winnipeg. But what's been for you personally the most special part about what you've been able to do? Whether, that you would, as you think about, I'm sure there's a lot of special moments when you kind of look at the years that have gone by where you found the most satisfaction and fulfillment.
I would just say post-COVID in an interesting way. We had pre-COVID, my partner and I were divorcing, and we decided to put the hotel up for sale. And we had it under contract, and it was going to be like a good ending for both of us. It would have been, we'll give someone else the opportunity to take it to the next level. And so we were closing on March 20th, 2020. And so it was going, it was going to be a nice ending. And then COVID came. We didn't close. Anyone that's gone through a marital breakup will know that it's never easy, and then you have the rug torn from under you. And we also had a yoga center and a spa, and so every business was highly affected. And so I guess that's how you'd say, well, the shit hit the fan, and everything we were trying to keep together, it became really toxic. So things went topsy-turvy for a while. And so in the end, I just ended up just proposing a vision to our partnership group, and they bought into it. So I ended up more or less just then becoming the single managing partner in the hotel. And so today, what I'm the most proud of is the team that I have today that helped me turn around and reposition the hotel during kind of the worst period for in hospitality. And so that's one thing I'm pretty proud of right now.
So it's all about you, your courage and willingly.
Sometimes in this case, there was probably some courage, but it's not even, your back's against the wall. There's not really courage. It's like, you can't do nothing. You have to do something. And yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say though, is like, you didn't fall over, maybe as much as it was as easy as it would have been.
Yeah, no, I think my personal motto is just stay standing. And so I kind of try doing that, and sometimes the winds try and knock you down, and you just keep a perspective that there's always worst case scenarios, and there's also always people worse off, and that no matter what, you always have a choice, and this might not be, you might have two bad choices, but you still have a choice.
I resonate a lot with you on that. If I was in Winnipeg and we were having a cup of tea or coffee right now, if we could go back and forth on a lot there. No, it's inspiring to hear. And so you, just to keep going here, you took the single kind of majority interest or single interest, as your relationship went on to the next chapter. What's your vision for the hotel today? You've been through so much. It sounds like you're making it better. You're talking about the new full floor you're redoing. What's the next 3 to 5 years look like for the hotel?
I'm 65, so there has to be an exit strategy within that 3 to 5 years, and so kind of that's probably always in the back of in the back of my head. I don't know. You know what? We had a blank canvas during COVID. We lost a lot of staff. We were kind of right back to like a skeleton staff because we weren't allowed to open food and beverage. We always had a very strong food and beverage component to the hotel. People weren't traveling. No one was staying in the hotel. We just had to kind of keep the grand name operating and not falling apart. And so we made the decision, and that was the vision that I brought in, saying this is our opportunity to do what we were going to give the new buyers an opportunity to do, was to reposition the hotel. And I said, why don't we have the template? Why don't we just do it while there's no displacement revenue? And so in those 3 years where we were in and out of COVID and had all of the restrictions, we expanded our food and beverage operation. We did a lot of renovations in the hotel and then repositioned it so that on the other side of COVID, we didn't just reopen our doors. We reopened a new product.
You went on the offense when others were playing defense.
Yeah. And most people would have, and that would have been a time where you're just bracing yourself on defense. And I mean, I grew up here. This is my city. So like I knew it would turn around, and Winnipeg's incredibly resilient. I would say if there's a negative thing is that we don't get any booms, but on the other side of that is we don't get any busts either. And we've always been very community focused in the hotel. So I had a kind of a feeling if we, added the rest of the where I'm in right now. This is our new Italian restaurant. I partnered it with a friend of mine. She was the first Michelin chef in Italy. We added a comedy club, so we down in another some underutilized space that we had. So we just kind of made the hotel an entertainment hub.
Wow.
And so it brought people back before people started traveling again. It brought local people back. And so then when people started traveling again, that whole adage about Winnipeg being large enough and small enough, it's like, well, where are you staying? And it's like, well, the hotels did some interesting things. And so we had a bit of an advantage. And so it's been really strong. We've come back really strong.
Well, congratulations. You're making me want to take a vacation to Winnipeg now. So
yeah, they have a pretty nice world-class spa.
Look, I'm telling you what, I could use the vacation. So, I know where I'm going. It's really, I mean, you can just hear the passion in your voice and the heart and kind of what you've been able to do. And I'm sure it sounds like an incredible team behind you and with you. So no, thanks for sharing all this. Now, Ida, you've been speaking about this journey. I mean, you were a first, your parents immigrated, you were kind of first generation, right? And, it sounds like you grew up with, not a whole lot, but you've completely made your oldest of 4, I think you said.
Yeah.
I'm sure your parents extremely proud.
They're both passed now. My mom died young at 58 and my dad at 92 years ago. But part of it is they, I have 2 kids and I would wish on them the same relationship with each other as siblings as I have with my siblings.
Wow.
We just created like another family for each other.
Was that because your mom, dad, they really cultivated, they wanted you and your siblings to be close? Or it's just...
I think a lot of parents do that. I think they got lucky. Like, I just think that sometimes as luck has a lot to do with things. And they instilled, all the right values and the importance of family. And that happens in a lot of families, but somehow they don't get the relationships with the siblings that they deserve, or that probably the parents wished on them. But in my case with my siblings, I'm so fortunate, and we all do completely different things. Like not one of us is in the same business as the other.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool that you have such cherished relationships with your siblings. What you talked about the values your parents instilled in you. When you look at your two children, I know we're kind of jumping around here. So
Yeah.
What do you think? One of the things that you've learned that you've really worked to instill in them, right, as they go and lead their life and grow up fully and do all the things in the world. What do you, no matter what you do, or
you know what, it's always easier to, we all have to work, and it's always easier to have work that doesn't feel like a job. And so both my kids are creatives. I'm not. I'm more of a spreadsheet person. So sometimes it takes a little bit more understanding from me to, kind of understand where they're going. But one thing is that they both follow their passion, their path. And our job as parents is to support them and helping them, make the right decisions. And especially one thing that my parents instilled in us is resiliency. And so that's one thing that I hope that my kids have, because in life you're going to need it.
Yeah, for sure. Life will knock you down. There's no question. You've clearly demonstrated that as well. I can resonate a lot with my dad. Definitely more operational, engineering minded, and I'm more of a creative. But there's I think we've grown to understand each other on that front. Just taking time. Wow. Let's talk about the hotel. I mean, it seems like, right, you have the hotel experience, you have the spa, you have the comedy club, you have events. Like to me, like the way I'm thinking about it is it's almost like this kind of holding company with all these umbrella companies.
Holding company. There's not.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm just like kind of separating it, right? You have all these different functioning. How do you make, right, all these different parts of the hotel, 200 plus rooms, hundreds of people, or thousands, low thousands. Like, how do you make all these different moving parts, all different set functions kind of come together in a way that
I'm just a conductor. It's putting the right people in place to lead the projects. And then if you realize you don't have the right person, making the change, making the change fast enough. One of the things that I had opened, I guess it's 15 years ago now, is I used to run a lot and lost the cartilage in my knee and had to couldn't run. And that's very hard when you were used to, 40, 50 miles a week. And so I started practicing yoga, and that's not easy for a runner to do, because stretching usually is maybe 5 minutes before and maybe hardly any time after. And so I fell into that business, and I ended up opening the largest yoga center in Canada. It's called Yoga Public. That too, it depends on the teachers. It's got nothing to do, it's a beautiful space. And it's very unique for Winnipeg, even for Canada, in terms of what we put together. So it's very spa-like. We have 7 studios. We have fitness classes, lots of different yoga classes. But if I wasn't able to find really good teachers, it wouldn't matter, right? And if I wasn't able to find a yoga director that understood my vision, right? Because, and I'm really lucky that I actually found a yoga teacher that is also a business minded. And so it just putting the right people in the right places, and then making sure they share the idea. And we do a lot of spreadsheet work. We do a lot of that because we have to make sure that everything's going to make money, because that's how we get paid.
Sure.
So I have a role that I'm strong in, and then it's just making sure that I put the right people in place. Yeah. And also not, I might have a vision. Someone might have a better vision or a better idea, not to be stuck on your view. And also just follow demand. See where it takes you.
You seem like a pretty disciplined and pragmatic person, but there's a, like you can develop your own creative vision. You can see things that need to get done, but your approach sounds like pretty sturdy and making sure that there's a business to be had here as well. Sounds like you've also been able to find great people. You were talking and keep great people. You were talking about your staff early on. I think 7 out of 8 are still with you. The yoga center, your center is now 7.
We have 400 staff now.
400.
Yeah, the yoga center, we closed it during COVID. And then I just reopened it myself 3 months ago.
Wow. So what's allowed you to find, attract, retain great talent? What's been some of the keys to leadership on that?
Helping them feel that every day they come to work, that they become better versions of themselves. And some days, especially in hospitality, it's not easy because we sometimes we try and make sure everyone's happy, but some people you either can't make happy or we didn't. So some days are harder than others, but just supporting your staff. And then I think the creative part with this chapter of the Fort Garry Hotel and what we've done has helped us attract really good people that are like-minded, that they thrive on change and pivoting.
Oh.
It always goes back to the people. It always goes back to that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, it's and like when you say becoming a better version of yourself, is that actually some values that you have set? Is that because you have like structured personal development or professional development programs for your people?
No, not structured. Just listening, just making people feel like that they're heard. And sometimes you get ideas from listening and just staying curious and not just shutting down an idea or a problem, and then where you can is helping. And then making sure that how you help is done in a way that, sometimes it can't be transparent, but that you don't offend someone else by helping. It has to be done sometimes in a very respectful way.
There's nothing too crazy or revolutionary to what you're saying. In the sense, it's just like we do the right things and we do the right things well, and we do them consistently, and so people are taken care of. Now, let me ask you a question. If I came into the hotel and the restaurant, you're known for food, or that's where your roots started, and you were to say, Bryan, this is the one thing on the menu that you need to get in January or February, well, what would that be?
Well, if you're dining in the Oval Room Brasserie, we just put a lot of work into our pizza dough. So it's a 72-hour fermentation process. And it's fabulous. So I would say you'd have to try that. But we also age our own steaks. So you get everything from either, it depends on what you want. But I would say that. I would say in the Italian restaurant, in Vita, any of the pastas, they're made in-house when the style of the pasta is appropriate. So, any of the pastas. And then if you go down for comedy, the corn dogs are really good.
Wow. Sounds amazing. Sounds like
I get a repertoire of my weekly menu.
Clearly, I think I need to spend at least a week there. Full belly, full heart. My grandmother made great gnocchi because my grandfather was full Italian. So do you have? We have
good. Yeah, we have a pretty good gnocchi as well.
Oh, yeah, that really needs to make this flight. It's enticing. No, sounds like the food is top class, and you're from the steak to the Italian to the pizza and corn dogs. Sounds very delightful. Do a lot of people come from out of town to stay, or is it mostly when it's
our weekend business for a downtown hotel? We have a very strong occupancy on the weekend, so we're I would say a leisure hotel on the weekend, and then because we have so much and such fabulous function space, a group hotel during the week and with some corporate. We have a good mix, but we're lucky that for a downtown hotel, the market, very much of it's locally driven. I'm always surprised how many local people that I know have their staycations, and they're checking in and they're up. The other thing you'd have to try is we have I think the only treatment hammam probably in North America. So in our spa, we took over the top floor of the hotel. It's around 16,000 square feet, and so we do like a hammam like you would have if you were in Istanbul. Yeah, we even smack you around a little bit and soap you down and scrub you down. So you'd have to also do the hammam.
Imagination is going all over. I mean,
If I find an idea when I'm out and about traveling, my first thing is, could I sell it in Winnipeg? And then the next one would be, how do I make it better than the experience that I had? I had a funny story shortly after I had opened up Yoga Public. And that was a hybrid of a couple years of first certifying as a yoga teacher, even though I would never hire myself to teach, but just to understand the culture of teachers and kind of, it was one thing to practice yoga, but also who are the people that I'm going to hire? And so we opened up Yoga Public, maybe 2 or 3 years into it, and I was in Rome. And I ended up, so I went, there's a yoga studio, and I ended up at a yoga studio that was called Our Yoga. And one of the reasons I ended up there is when I was going online, I'm like, oh my God, this looks like my website. Oh my God. And I was almost copy pasted, like things about the flooring and about all of those things. I was like, I gotta go check this place out. And so I go there, and I mean, I'm from Winnipeg. I don't know. My family's from Southern Italy, and someone taps me, and they're going, "Are you Ida Albo?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And they go, "Do you like what we did? We copied you." And I said, "Wow, I'm going to really check the place out then, because that's usually what I do." And I'm like, I got copied, so it was it was really funny. And so it turns out that there was a woman from Winnipeg who was studying at the University of Rome. And she met this couple that wanted to open up a yoga studio. And she said, oh, if you're going to open it, you've got to check out Yoga Public in Winnipeg. And they came and they spent a month going to our yoga studio. And so it was kind of fun. And so it's a different way of paying forward, because usually that's what I'm doing, is getting ideas and then trying to adapt them. But let's so recognize cool. that was very strange.
Yeah. And wow, what a story. What a story. Yeah, and it sounds like, too, was something that's coming through in this conversation, even though I spent a ton of time with you, is, on that note, like, it was such a craftful way of designing the studio. It seems like you also, what I'm hearing is, you really care about the experiential side, like how people feel when they're in a space, the experience when they're...
Absolutely, you have to. I mean, everything's an experience. Yeah.
How do you do that well? Like, what are the ingredients of enabling a great experience?
I think you have to. How do you feel? How do you want to feel? Like, how would I like to be treated? Right. And oftentimes, I don't want to say I design it for myself, because it's not true, but I do design it as myself as the client. And so one example of that, and we'll just kind of bring the yoga, what I got really frustrated about when I was trying to practice yoga when I couldn't run, is if I was a minute late for class, I wasn't allowed in. And I didn't understand that. I wouldn't bother anyone. They're still doing their ohms. Why can't I lay down a mat and in the back of the room? And no. And it was very judgmental that you were late. Like, how, and I thought, well, I'm going to do a yoga studio and you can come late, and what we'll do is we're going to supply yoga mats, and we'll put some extra yoga mats down at the class. So if someone does come in late, they don't have to make any noise, and they can just walk in, in the back of the room. And then there's always these like little opportunities, but it also depends on what's going on in your market, how big your market is. And And so, but I love bringing things back to Winnipeg.
Right. And you can just hear the care and the kind of how you see things and shape things. And it's really cool. It's really cool to hear how you've gone about it. And yeah, I'd love to see it with my own eyes one day. Let me ask you this, and we'll wrap up here in a few minutes. Hope this has been a pleasant conversation. If you could, it sounds like you've done a lot. You've thought about a lot of spaces to open. You've from yoga to the hotel to the restaurants. I mean, how many, is there anything you haven't done that's on the bucket list within this domain of what you're doing now?
I don't know yet. It's just stayed so busy these last 4 years that I don't really have, but that doesn't, the nice thing that I don't have a bucket list is that if an opportunity comes up and it kind of tickles my nose like this, I'm like, do I have some capacity there to do that? Then I'd have to find the people to do it. Sure. Then I'd have to say, do we have, like I did, the yoga studio, do we have good yoga teachers in Winnipeg? Because it's not something, do we have, was very lucky when I wanted to open the Italian restaurant, that we had a fellow that I knew for a long time from Rome that was working in another restaurant. And a few years back, we brought Franco Pepe to Winnipeg to make some pizza, because this is pre-COVID, and we were going to do some pizza in Winnipeg and probably scale it out a little bit. With how COVID worked out, and then he became so famous and wasn't going to come to Winnipeg. But this Italian chef had taken time off to work with him while he was here. And so when we decided to do the pizza project, I had the person to do it. I can't just say I want to do pizza, because if you don't find someone that knows what that means and what it's supposed to mean, because it's not just to do a pizza, it's right. To do the best pizza, right? Yeah. It's not just, so the idea is to try and do something and then say, do we have the talent pool here that I can pull on that can help make that the best of what it is?
Ida, this has been a joy. So thank you for taking an hour or so with me. And where can people find you, reach out? Feel free to show the address of the hotel so people can stop by. Close the time.
Yeah, and you can contact me right through the website of the hotel. So it's at www.fortgarryhotel.com. And all the businesses are connected through the website, whether it's Ten Spa or Yoga Public or Vita, which is the Italian restaurant, or the Oval Room, or Yuck Yucks, the comedy club. It's one website, but everything links.
Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your experiences. This is truly lovely, and I'm excited to follow along and hopefully get up there in the near future. So.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The One Away Show with Ida Albo. What stayed with me most is Ida's grounded strength, her ability to meet uncertainty with clarity, and to keep standing when everything around her was shifting. Whether revitalizing a historic hotel, launching a world-class yoga studio, or simply building space for others to thrive, Ida leads with quiet determination and deep heart. If this conversation resonated with you, feel free to share it or leave a review. And as always, we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, follow what moves you and stay standing through the storms.